Have you ever felt broken? Not just tired or going through a hard time. I mean that deep sensation, like something inside you cracked open and you might never be the same again. Maybe it was a relationship that ended, a dream that collapsed, a loss that came too soon, or a disappointment so heavy it left an invisible fracture in your soul. And when that happens, most of us learn to hide it. We hide pain behind smiles. We hide insecurity behind rehearsed lines, and the cracks behind silence. Because the world doesn't seem to have a place for what's imperfect, what failed, or what hurt. In Western culture, what breaks gets thrown away. A chipped dish ends up in the trash. A flawed item loses its value. But what if I told you? There's a place in the world where broken things become more valuable exactly because they've been broken. In Japan, there is a centuries-old art called Kintsugi. The word comes from kin, gold, and tsugi, to join or repair. And what this art does is nothing short of magical. When a ceramic bowl breaks, the Japanese artist doesn't try to hide the cracks. He highlights them. He carefully gathers the pieces. He prepares a special resin. And then, with meticulous care, he puts them back together. But along the cracks, he draws glowing golden lines. The result? A bowl that isn't like it was before. It's something else entirely. Something new. Something more valuable. Its scars shine, its flaws tell a story, and what once was a mistake and becomes the most beautiful part of the piece. But why? Why not just throw it away? Here's where Japanese philosophy offers one of the most powerful life lessons ever conceived. Beauty isn't in perfection. It's in the story that imperfection carries. While Western culture tries to erase the signs of time, Japan honors time's passage. Where many see flaws, the Japanese see poetry. And that doesn't just apply to bowls or cups. It applies to life. It applies to you. Kintsugi isn't just about fixing pottery. It's a way of seeing the world, a philosophy, a lens that transforms pain into art, scars into beauty, loss into rebirth. You might be thinking, that's a beautiful metaphor, but it doesn't change anything in real life. But what if it does? Because how you see your flaws completely shapes how you live. Think about it. If you believe that making mistakes makes you worthless, you'll spend life in hiding. If you believe that failure is shameful, you'll live in constant fear. But if you understand that your cracks are part of your beauty, you might finally find peace. The World Health Organization reports that over 280 million people worldwide suffer from depression. According to the American Psychological Association, body image and perfection anxiety are among the most common mental health issues today. We are becoming sick, trying to be perfect, trying to appear whole all the time, even when everything inside is falling apart. We live in the age of filters, edited profiles, and perfect snapshots, and less space for what's real. But Kintsugi invites us to do the opposite. It calls us to face what broke and understand. This too is you, and it's okay. You don't have to erase what happened. You don't have to pretend you were never hurt. You can instead accept and transform. Because the gold in Kintsugi isn't just a material. It's a symbol of the courage to rebuild yourself with dignity. And here's the most beautiful truth behind this art. The repaired piece will never be the same, but it can become something even more beautiful. Now think, how many times have you tried to go back to who you were before the pain? How many times have you wished you could erase part of your story? But what if the real path isn't going back? What if the real transformation happens when you move forward, with the cracks, with the scars, with the memories, and become something more rare? Kintsugi shows us that being broken isn't the end. It's the beginning of a new shape. And no, this isn't about romanticizing pain. It's about giving pain a new meaning. It's about turning suffering into wisdom, loss into strength, and imperfection into beauty. That's the essence, and that's why, instead of hiding the cracks, the Japanese fill them with gold, as if to say, yes, this piece fell apart, but it was made whole again, and now its journey is impossible to ignore, just like you. In the next few minutes, we'll dive even deeper into this philosophy. You'll learn about the origin of Kintsugi, the principles behind the practice, and what it might reveal about your own personal journey. Because believe me, the parts of yourself you try to hide may be the parts that most deserve to shine. When something breaks, our instinct is almost always the same: fix it quickly or hide the damage. We rush to cover up the cracks. We move on as if nothing happened. But Kintsugi asks us to do the opposite. It invites us to pause, observe, and honor the break. To truly understand this Japanese art, we need to go back in time to the 15th century, when a powerful shogun named Ashikaga Yoshimasa broke his favorite tea bowl. He sent the damaged bowl to China for repair, expecting it to return good as new. But what came back was clumsily fixed with metal staples, cold, harsh, and ugly. Dissatisfied, Yoshimasa turned to Japanese craftsmen. In response, they developed something radical, a repair method that didn't hide the damage, but celebrated it. They mixed a natural lacquer, known as urushi, with powdered gold, and traced the cracks with it. Thus, Kintsugi was born, and with it, not just an art form, but an entire philosophy of life. Kintsugi isn't only about restoring broken pottery, it's about changing how we view imperfection, pain, and healing. It's deeply rooted in a Japanese aesthetic worldview known as wabi-sabi. Wabi-sabi is difficult to translate directly, but it's often described as the appreciation of imperfection, impermanence, and incompleteness. It sees beauty not in the flawless, but in the authentic, the fading flower, the weathered wood, the asymmetrical shape, the wrinkled hand that has known time. Where modern society pushes us toward artificial perfection, wabi-sabi whispers a softer truth. Real beauty lives in what's natural, aged, worn, and true. This philosophy is closely tied to Zen Buddhism, which teaches detachment, presence, and harmony with the transient nature of all things. As Zen master Daisetsu T. Suzuki once wrote, "True understanding comes not through analysis, but through quiet awareness of the impermanent." And that's exactly what Kintsugi expresses. Every crack tells a story. Every fracture holds time, history, and life. This brings us to one of the deepest messages of this tradition. The repaired object is no longer the same. It becomes something else, and precisely because it broke, it becomes unique. And here's where it connects directly to us. We often treat our own emotional scars as things to erase. We try to get over it, move on, pretend it never happened. But what if the healing doesn't lie in erasing, but in highlighting, in turning the wound into a line of gold? And this isn't just poetic. Science is beginning to validate these ancient insights. A study from UC Berkeley found that individuals who practice self-compassion, acknowledging and embracing their own pain, are more resilient, less anxious, and report higher levels of well-being. Psychologist Kristin Neff emphasizes that true healing starts with recognizing suffering without judgment. And author Brené Brown, in her research on shame and vulnerability, discovered that what we often try to hide, our imperfections, are exactly where our power, creativity, and connection come from. So maybe that crack in your story, the one you've been trying to cover up, isn't a weakness at all. Maybe it's your signature. In the West, the logic is, if it's broken, it's worthless. In Japan, through Kintsugi, the idea is, if it's broken, it just became more precious. In fact, many pieces repaired with Kintsugi become more valuable than they were before, not just monetarily, emotionally. spiritually, symbolically. They become one of a kind. But Kintsugi goes even deeper than that. It refuses to hide the damage. It highlights it. The golden lines don't pretend the object was never broken. They say proudly, yes, this fell apart. Yes, it was painful, but it was put back together as carefully, lovingly, patiently. Now ask yourself, how many times have you tried to patch something inside you in a rush? How often have you treated a deep wound like a minor scratch? We live in a culture of speed, of quick fixes, temporary solutions, instant masking. Kintsugi is the opposite. It's a practice of slowness. Each piece is handled with patience. The edges are cleaned, treated, studied. The cracks are honored, not ignored. The gold is applied last, only after the restoration is nearly complete. Only when the object is ready to carry its scars with grace. And that says something powerful about healing. It's not about returning to how you were. It's not about forgetting the pain. It's about becoming whole in a new way. The cracks will still be there, but now they shine. Now they mean something. Now they tell a story of survival, of renewal, of strength. And suddenly, what was broken becomes a masterpiece. Kintsugi teaches that repair is not shameful. It is sacred. It's a form of respect for the object, for its journey, and for what it has become. The same can be said about your life. You're not meant to stay untouched. You're meant to evolve, to carry your cracks with purpose, to walk forward not despite them, but because of them. There is a quiet beauty in those who have endured. It's not loud. It doesn't ask for attention, but you feel it in their presence, in their gaze, in their silence. It's the depth in the eyes of someone who's cried and still chose to smile. It's the grace of someone who has walked through pain and now moves with softness. And maybe that's why Kintsugi touches us so deeply, because it's not just about bowls. It's about us, about you. It's not just a method of repair. It's a mirror, a reminder that breaking is part of living, that being shattered doesn't make you less. It makes you more. But here's the truth that changes everything. You don't have to go back to who you were. The object repaired through Kintsugi never pretends it's the same. It doesn't deny the fall. It doesn't hide the pain. Instead, it embraces it. It displays it with gold. Because what looked like the end was really the start of something new. And that applies to you too. You are not less worthy because you've suffered. You are not less whole because you carry scars. If anything, you are deeper, stronger, more alive. Think about this. Society tells us that beauty means symmetry, youth, flawlessness. But look closer. The people who've truly moved you, who've inspired you, who've left a mark on your heart. Were they perfect or were they real? Real beauty doesn't live in filters. It lives in authenticity, in the cracks, in the courage to be seen even when imperfect. That's what Kintsugi teaches us, just like the gold that traces the cracks. You too can honor your pain with dignity. You can own your story, and more than that, you can transform it. Philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche spoke of amor fati, the love of one's fate. Not passive acceptance, but an active embrace of every part of your journey, even the difficult ones. Psychiatrist Viktor Frankl, a survivor of Auschwitz, wrote, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." And psychologist Carl Jung taught that true growth comes when we integrate our shadow, the hidden, painful parts of who we are. Each of these voices echoes the same truth. Your wounds don't need to disappear. They can become part of your strength. They can become art. So let me ask you, if your life were a ceramic vessel, where are the cracks? What moments tried to break you? What memories still ache? Don't run from them. Gather them, piece by piece, and, with patience, start to rebuild, not to erase what happened, but to transform it. Because the gold, it's not in pretending nothing happened. It's in the wisdom you earned, the empathy you gained, the strength you didn't know you had. That's your gold. That's what makes your scars shine. And maybe The very thing you thought made you less is what will help someone else heal. Your scars could be someone else's light, but first you have to see them that way, not as damage, but as design, not as failure, but as form, as a story worth telling, not despite the pain, but because of it. So what are you still hiding? What golden lines are waiting to be drawn? The world doesn't need more perfect people. It needs more honest ones, people who broke, rebuilt, and now walk forward with gold in their cracks, because true beauty doesn't come from being untouched. It comes from being touched deeply. And still choosing to stand, and not just stand, shine. You don't need permission. You don't need to wait. You can begin now. Close your eyes, take a breath, and start gathering the pieces. This is your story. This is your time. And when you're ready, fill your cracks with gold.